Gotta love this time of year. Only one can be champion. Let's go playoff racing!
I said, hey, hey, oh, oh, hey, hey, there's no surrender. Let 'em hear my battle cry. iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them for abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the world of outlaw.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
IMSA has raced at Lime Rock Park in the real world for many years, but in recent times the organizers have elected not to race GT cars and prototypes there at the same time. Here in the virtual world, the dangers of bodily harm and repair bills don't exist, so it all comes down to who's crazy enough to try it. If you want your answer, you'll get it in a few moments' time as we get ready to watch Round 7 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, this has been the scene of some of the wildest, most memorable camel races we've covered. This is a ridiculous track for these cars.
That is the understatement of the century, Joe. Lime Rock Park and its 1.5 mile or 2.4 kilometer 7-turn track has been a favorite of sports car fans for over half a century now. But ask the drivers if it's their favorite, you might hear a different story. With its terrifying downhill and its terrifying uphill and the tight quarters of Big Bend through the right-hander, this track has been a grin and bear it track for many multi-class series drivers over the years. While the course is perfectly sized and just challenging enough for slower series, the turbo-powered monsters of Kamel make Lime Rock a very tight, chaotic track. With lap times well under a minute for both classes, how each tackles this course is very unique. In the Audi, you are ruled by understeer, clinging to the front wheels and praying they turn into each medium and high-speed bend, praying that you will be able to land stable after the brief jump after uphill to settle the car before West Bend. And if you thought the Nissan's relative downforce kept it safe from taking flight over uphill, think again. While the high downforce makes the downhill in West Bend seem easy, the bumps through left-hand, right-hander try to introduce turbo lag spins. And the speeds the Nissans take through the uphill mean the GTP can easily take off, damaging your undertree or taking you into a spin before West Bend. Expect to see both the Nissan and Audi drivers lifting before the crest to try and reduce airtime as they attempt to hang on around this tiny track. Well, let's see what it's like, shall we? And take a ride around Lime Rock Park in our GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Clayton McLeod in the GSRC Nissan, so let's do a lap around Lime Rock Park. Coming down to Big Bend, this is really your only realistic chance to outbrake someone for an overtake, but it's going to be sketchy trying to hold it too wide through here if neither of you gives in. Try to take it as two apexes, then, coming off, get the car to the right. The aptly named left-hander is probably best for the late apex, and make sure to hug the left side to give yourself a better shot through the S's. Watch out for wheel spin since the turbo leg can get you. Weave through no name straight, then chuck it into the uphill. Keep the wheel straight over the crest and stay off to the left as you approach West Bend. There's very little runoff on the outside, so if you dip wheels into the grass on exit, it could easily be goodnight. Finally, there's diving turn. Get the car into the groove down by the curb and be careful about how much you flirt with the dirt. Hopefully, you kept it together and have now finished a lap around Lime Rock Park.
You can see just how fast it is around here in the Nissans. So these qualifying laps are going to go very quickly. Before we get to that, let's talk about the points championship, which is fascinating in both the classes. With the prototypes up first, with the drop weeks having come into play, the likes of Justin Albrecht has lost the points lead to Fabian Gerber, even though overall points he is leading. Now, he does have 12 pocket points compared to Fabian Gerber, who has none. In fact, only Justin and Martin Krajcik you see there on the top 5 have those pocket points to help save them if they have a bad race through the rest of the season. Everybody else has really got to be on the ball. Jungbluth, our biggest mover there in the top 5, getting up to third. What about the GTO Championship, Adam? That has seemed very close all season long.
It has been very close, with Rob Olnick and Nick McConos really duking it out with each other as they continue on through here. We got 94 points of Rob Olnick, and only 7 points behind is Nick McConos. Both those guys have 20 points in the bag for a drop week. That means that points hold is going to stick around as we go into the later weeks. Ove Trengerad's only 14 points behind. Riley Thompson's 25 points back, and Reed Miller 46 points back. So it really is between those top 2. And if either of those guys miss a race, Ove Trengerade might jump up there and take the lead.
Well, that'll be fascinating if it becomes a 3-person fight instead. Let's show you what all is involved in today's race, as we might have viewers who have not watched yet. We are in round 7 out of 12, and there's those 2 droplets signifying they get 2 weeks in which their worst scores do not count. Now, the race distance is at 40 minutes. It's their sprint race, which means there is no scheduled stop for fuel. If you have to come in for damage repairs, well, normally that is race over. In this case, though, you might actually be able to get back into things and get a decent result just because it is going to be so chaotic out there, and attrition might be that high. And in fact, 25 points are scored for a win in each of our classes, so there's plenty to play for, and there is plenty to lose if you don't get back out and try to get on track to get some of those points. Now, this race is brought to you on the iRacing Esports Network. As always, if you have not subscribed, make sure and go to their YouTube page. You'll know if you haven't, because the subscribe button will be big and red. Click it, and you'll get all of the iRacing Kamel GT series in your YouTube feed each and every week. Right now in qualifying, Albrecht is responding as he has the fastest pole time, but that is provisional because we're still waiting on Fabian Gerber to take his second lap time, while Rob Olenek holds the provisional pole in the GTOs. We're going to watch Fabian Gerber, who's just about done with his lap here, Adam, and sitting in third. He's not too far behind, so even if he doesn't set a faster lap, I think he's still in this thing.
Yeah, the sun started to come out a little bit on this lap, so it might not be the fastest. We'll see what he puts in. He gets second place, only about 8/100ths behind Justin Albrecht.
So that is awful close. Let's go to Martin Krajcik in the prototypes to see what his second lap has. As he comes around West Bend. Ooh, and thought I saw him with an off there. He had a little bit of a connection issue, so it's tough to tell if that was just the internet showing him off, and indeed that one does not count for him. Let's go to Ove Trengerade, who currently sits in 5th. Now this is a little bit low for him in the GTO class. We're used to seeing him contending for poles, so he's going to have to hustle.
Yeah, I think that this is a slow lap for him as well. It's just, this track's really difficult. It's a track that is extremely tight. There's a lot of tight bends, and you don't really get a lot of help from the banking. So these Audi drivers, if you're not used to it, you're going to struggle a lot around here.
Yeah, his second lap did not count. He must have had an off somewhere along the line. So now we've switched over to Jamie Hall, who has not set any laps. Thankfully, we got some drivers who waited a little bit. If everybody would have gone out at once, we wouldn't have anybody to call here for the qualifying. It happens that quickly. The Dirty Torque driver.
Yeah, Joe, Jamie had the fastest lap in practice, so we'll see what he can put up here.
And actually, that was his out lap, I believe, because that one did not count for him that I'm seeing. So that was his out lap on that. We've just got Hall. Johnny Bell is out there setting times. Ove Trangarade, who we mentioned, is done. And Havdal is finished with his. Johnny Bell's first lap is a 42.1. That's good enough for 9th place.
Jamie Hall coming now down through that downhill section there. These GTPs are so fast around this track. It's quite unbelievable. Just about 40 seconds, and he puts it up to 2nd place. He takes 2nd from Fabian Gerber.
Absolutely. Front row for him. We're watching Bell now come around for his 2nd lap. He comes out of West Bend into the diving turn, making sure not to throw this one away by staying firmly on track as he crosses the line. Oh, he must have had an off track when we weren't looking, because that one did not count for him.
Yeah, it was right there at the end of his lap. That was where he clipped the dirt on the exit of that curve. That can catch up a lot of faster cars. It's not going to really make that much of a difference in the race because they don't have an incident cap here in Camel, but it is something that can mess up your qualifying time for sure.
Little bit faster for Jamie Hall, but not fast enough for the pole. He improved by 1/100th of a second, which leaves us with a gap of 0.04 of a second between Albrecht and Hall. This could be a tight one between those two, as well as with Fabian Gerber. That finishes up our qualifying. So our grid is now set here in the Kamel GT series with a field of 22 cars, it looks like. So not a huge field for what we've seen here at Lime Rock in the past, but doesn't take much to get a full field here. Let's go through the order. Justin Albrecht is on the pole with Jamie Hall next to him at the start. This is all going to shuffle around pretty quickly in the fields once they hit that traffic. Fabian Gerber will be starting in 3rd with Clayton McLeod in P4. Martin Krajcik will start in 5th position. Dustin Heroder will be 6th. Then you've got Fabian Jungluth starting in P7. John Keefe in 8th. The 9th spot will belong to Luis Emerton. Johnny Bell rounds out your top 10. J.E. Hyde will start in 11th. Miguel Catalud will be 12th. Ryan Lang did not get a time in, so he will start at the back of the GTP field, but will be with his class. Adam?
Absolutely. The Audis are going to start with Rob Olnick on pole. If you're wondering where Philip Lake was when we were announcing the Nissan GTP field, that's because he's decided to switch over to the Audi for this race. He's taking up the 2nd position outside of pole. Matthias Havdal, a great qualifying for him in 3rd place. Reed Miller in 4th. Ove Trangarade all the way back now in the 6th place. And we have Daniel Sadro in 7th. Michael Haynes is going to be 8th. Yen Ching Chung, a new racer for us tonight, is going to be 9th. And then Billy Wise didn't set up pole time.
Yeah, you were telling me a little bit about Phil Lake coming over to these GTO cars and saying you were kind of shocked at the way he set this car up. Tell us a little bit about what he's doing so differently from everybody else.
Yeah, so the conventional wisdom for the Audi GTOs is to set your car up so it's quite neutral, so that when you put the power down, the power goes to all 4 wheels more or less equally. You bias it a little bit to the rear so you can get some turn in. Phil Lake likes to take that to the extreme. He biases the power a lot to the rear end so that it really rotates him through the center of the corner and off. And that allows him to take corners a lot tighter, but it puts a lot of tire wear onto his rear tires. So that's something we're going to have to watch as we go into this race. But seeing as we're in cloud right now, and it's going to be a sunset race, it might not affect him that much, and it's definitely making him fast.
I'd say so based on the qualifying. You can see the weather, very cool conditions, honestly. 76 degrees on the track surface. And they do have a slight wind, but shouldn't really affect these cars too badly as we see it. We'll keep an idea on that, keep an eye on that. as we go. Right now, they work their way through the S's as it is 7 p.m. virtual standard time here at Lime Rock Park. 40-minute race means the sun shouldn't go down too drastically in that amount of time. And coming their way through No Name Straight, which isn't really all that straight in itself, could be a problem zone for the drivers. And then up and over the uphill that Adam was talking about, where both classes can manage to get a little bit of air depending on how they hit that jump. There you can see the crest. I love when Dougie gives us that low angle camera. The Porsche pace car, though, has come around West Bend, and after they head through Diving Turn, it is going to peel away and give control to our leader, Justin Albrecht. Can he take a victory here today and get himself back into the points lead? That's the big question. Pace car is now into pit lane. Albrecht gets a good jump as we get the green flag here at Lime Rock Park for round 7. Fabian Gerber immediately on the attack, down to try and take second place away from Jamie Hall. And I think he's managed to get it as they cycle through Big Bend. Let's go to the Audis.
There's a fantastic start for Rob Olenek. He got the best jump, and that's probably because he has a teammate in the lead right now. Phil Lake having to back up a little bit, and then Matthias Hovdahl in third now. Reed Miller is trying to claw his way past Matthias Hovdahl, but that's not going to work. The Audis are single file as they go through the left and right-hander.
Already the GTPs have gone through the uphill. Now it's the turn of the GTOs to work their way up and over the hump, and so far I'm not seeing any wrecks off there, so first lap is safe, but the battle for second is hot in the prototypes. Jamie Hall somehow got overtaken by Fabian Gerber when we weren't looking, so Hall falls down to third place. Gerber can now set his sights on Albrecht, his championship rival.
Fabian Gerber, we know how fast he is. He's going to have to catch up to Albrecht. Albrecht doing a really good job this season to keep the pace really strong and keep the pressure on Gerber. This is a good championship fight, likes we haven't seen in a couple seasons.
Absolutely. Usually most drivers don't have the pace for Fabian, but thus far he's been holding things down pretty well whenever he shows up. Only one time has he not won when he arrived at the track. Let's go to fourth down in the GTOs, though.
Yeah, Ove Trengrade's been trying to get past Reed Miller. Reed's making a couple of mistakes. Look how wide he goes there on the exit, and that's going to allow Ove Trengrade to go by and through the downhill. But Reed Miller's got the better line, but he just can't hold it. Trengrade's got the speed, and he's going to take off down that front stretch. But look at that. Daniel Sadro closing in as well. These two guys are both looking for an opportunity to get by.
Sadro was eyeing those two fighting and seeing if he could take advantage of it, but it was not to be. You can see as we ride on board with Trengrade looking back, that is Miller in the dirty torque car, the black, orange, and blue, and then behind him in the white machine is Daniel Sadro. This is all for fourth place that has recently been taken over by Trengrade.
These guys are duking it out really well. The fastest lap comes out from Justin Albrecht. We'll see whether or not Fabian Gerber can beat that. But man, this pace is really strong. The GTPs have about a 10-second delta over the Audis around this track.
And Jamie Hall lost third place. There was a mistake into turn one. Let's see if we can get the replay on this. This was all driver error. Just started to lose the rear of the car on his way in, and Clayton McLeod pounces on it as Jamie Hall puts two wheels into the dirt trying to recover and eventually finds his way back to the track. Come back live. We need to get to the battle for the lead in the GTOs because it is Rob Olenek versus Phil Lake. Lake with his unique setup on the car. Oh, and what was happening on screen where we switched there?
It looked like a couple of the slower Audis were trying to move away for the GTPs.
Oh,
and
it's a big wreck, honestly. It's Jung Bluth involved.
Oh my goodness.
I see Luis Emerton.
Dustin Herodier.
Let's see, who kicked this off? It was a 3 wide in which Michael Haynes clipped Martin Krejcik, it looks like. Krejcik trying to split the middle, and then unfortunately, when he got tipped, everybody behind had to check up and just piled into it. I think Jungbluth got the hardest of the hits as he was almost thrown into the air.
The chaos is just going nuts right now. It's wow. Just look at Michael Haynes just trying to hang on to it on the outside. That's the worst place to be in any car is the outside. And man, they're just trying to hang on and no one could do it. Michael Haynes has to come back on the track and that just pinches Jungbluth there.
And as they say, chaos ensued. So as we come back live, we left the battle for the lead in the GTOs, but we now have a battle for the lead in the GTPs, and that's because we got a lot of traffic in front of them. Albrecht squeezing by Phil Lake, his teammate in Dirty Torque, and now his other teammate, unfortunately, in the way. Rob Olenek has nowhere to go. Off and onto the no-name straight. Albrecht able to get to the inside. Gerber is going to follow him through into the uphill.
Got a really good run, but he wasn't able to make anything with it. Man, they get super wiggly as they go over that jump past the uphill. Here we go through West Bend. Fabian Gerber making his way. He's trying to catch up to Albrecht, but Albrecht really taking sail there as we go into the front, the back, the front, whatever straight it is.
The only straight I think that they've got on this course. Let's go back to Clayton McLeod and Jamie Hall, though, because those two are also trying to settle out third place. They just went by our GTO leaders, and now through Big Bend, we're on board with Clayton McLeod, looking back at the Dirty Torque driver of Jamie Hall. They seem to be clear of all that traffic for the first time through. They finally get a little bit of a breather. Everything happened so fast, we missed all the prototypes having to weave their way through the GT.
Johnny Bell has spun and collected Lewis Emerton. They're still wrecking right now as they go on to the no-name straight. It was Lewis Emerton and J.E. Hyde, I think? No, Miguel Jovier, but Lewis Emerton definitely involved in that.
And I think Martin Kraytrick had an off at the same time as well. There's definitely contact with Miguel. You're right about that. And it backed up the train of cars behind them. Hyde was in there, Lang, Jungbluth, and Heroder just had nowhere to go on the weaving no-name straight.
And that's backed up this battle for sixth place. It's extremely tight now. Man, oh my goodness, and look at that.
More incidents on the uphill. It is an absolute New York traffic jam on that replay, but they've now settled it out into single file in this group. Although Hyde, gets checked up with traffic, and Lewis Emerton is boxed in with nowhere to go. He manages to get underneath Daniel Sadro, but is desperately wanting to get by Hyde.
This is the chaos of Lime Rock Park. You got to be super careful with the traffic around here. The Audis don't really have much they can do. They don't have that much control over their cars around this track because of lack of banking. But wow, look at that move. Emerton really making a fast move there past Hyde, and Jungbluth following him through.
Yeah, Jungbluth says, thank you very much. Door is open. I think I'm coming in as well. So that moves Emerton up to 6th, Jungbluth up to 7th, Hyde demoted down to 8th place, clearly outclassed by these others around him.
They're about to catch up to the battles for the lead in the GTO, so this is going to get really spicy for sure.
Yeah, that still has Rob Olenek and Phil Lake quite close to one another. This is Reed Miller that we're seeing them go by. He's just simply trying to stay out of the way. Emerton's going to be the first one to approach the top two.
Yeah, and Emerton's taken off. He's got a 1.4 second lead out ahead of Fabian Jungbluth. But watch, Emerton, he's going to close up to this battle for the Audi GTOs. This is the closest it's been since the last time they were broken up by GTPs. So we're going to see how they handle this.
Yeah, that critical second that he pulled away is helpful because you can see right here, wait patiently for the inside to open up, and then he can only get one of them down the no-name straight before finally off the uphill. He gets through on Rob Olenek, cost him a little time to Jungbluth.
Something's happened to John Keefe, and he's in the pits.
Now, this is relatively recent. He actually drove it into the pits. You know, he didn't touch anything recently. This must have been old damage, and he's just elected it's too much for him to keep good pace, so he's getting repairs currently. Meanwhile, you could see...
Oh, a big wreck!
Oh, more of the Audis, unfortunately. And was that our leaders?
That was the leaders. That was Rob Olnick and Phil Lake, along with Matthias Hofdahl, who just went through that. That was a huge accident involving GTPs coming around. Oh my goodness, that was a huge wreck. I believe that was Michael Haynes who went into them.
Haynes and Billy Wise had gone wide, and Haynes lost control just in front of the leader. That meant that Hyde had to check up, and he was ran into by both Lake and Heroder.
What an unbelievable, unfortunate event for Rob Olnick, who gets clobbered by Michael Haynes. That's definitely going to end his challenge, and that's going to be a huge, huge disadvantage for his points attempt.
Well, what has been a Lemony Snicket's tale for Rob Olnick has been quite nice for Phil Lake, who now leads the race, and by about 2.5 seconds. There we see the view from Olnick, just no warning.
And you know what? As he's getting past there, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Rob Olnick has kept his foot in it, and he's actually trying to make it past Matthias Hofdahl, who holds up the likes of Clayton. Oh my gosh, Clayton McLeod is off track. He had to take evasive action over that jump.
And so did Ove Trankerade, who went off into the grass, also kept his foot down. Let's watch the replay on this moment, because I'm amazed that we didn't have any actual wrecks. Although did Clayton actually hit the wall? I think he did.
Look at the Audis taking air there. That was unbelievable. We're going to go on board now with Clayton McLeod. Watch him as he has to whoa up going into the uphill, and that really sets him in the wrong line. And then he has to take evasive action as he goes over the jump.
Wow, it just snaps from underneath him without warning. Just incredible. This really is a game of survival. If you can keep it pointed forward and stay out of trouble, you got a good chance. We don't need to go to it, but Calatayud also had an off at the uphill. I think he's got severe damage. He'll probably have to come in for repairs. We're looking at our leader in the GTOs. If you're trying to keep track of everything that's going on, it is still Phil Lake who is leading the way. He's got about a 3-second lead over Hofdahl, who has inherited second place ever since Olenick's misfortune.
And all of this chaos has allowed Justin Albrecht a 3-second lead in the GTP, so he's pretty secure if he doesn't make a mistake.
Oh, sorry, Rob Olenick almost got hit again by a spinning car. It was Clayton McLeod who unfortunately put his wheels off in the left-hander as he was trying to overtake Hofdahl. This would be a good one from above to see just how closely this was cut. That is Clayton in the Nissan. We're looking at Olenick in the Dirty Torque car. Now watch Clayton move around the outside and suddenly run out of track and all of a sudden swing back across. Oh.
Yeah, Matthias Hofdahl has been extremely tight in, loose through the center, and so he's causing a lot of problems with the GTPs who are trying to make it around. He's taking up a lot of the track, and those GTPs really have nowhere to go.
Boy, I bet Redenbacher stocks are up because there's certainly some popcorn being sold today. But we still have more than half the race left to go. We're barely a quarter of the way into this thing. I believe this is McLeod that we're watching. Who's miraculously still in 4th place. I mean, there's a lapped car, so this is not for position.
Wow, look at this. They're going to go 3 wide on the front stretch of Lime Rock.
Not quite, but Keefe is certainly in a hurry. He's trying to get these laps back. That was Miguel that they were trying to lap, who is still without a nose, but trying to trudge on.
So John Keefe is actually, all of these spots are for position, and all this chaos has given Phil Lake has about a 5-second gap over Matthias Hofdahl at this point, but John Keefe is sandwiched between them for position.
Miguel's in a really bad place here as more of these cars try to lap him. Emerton gets through, Bell gets through. I think, and Miguel does cause an incident. That was Rob Olenick again, and he gets run into by Ove Trangerade, sneaking through Justin Albrecht. Our leader narrowly avoids disaster.
This is madness.
Well, it's certainly not Sparta. And these drivers are really going to have to keep their wits about them. I was just about to say, I feel like Miguel needs to park this car. Oh,
Yeah,
poor
I don't think
Rob.
Rob's gonna be very happy with him in the post-race session here. This is gonna be a tough conversation to have between the two of them for sure, because that's the second time Rob has been run into of no fault of his own.
Almost was the third because Clayton McLeod nearly hit him once even. And to be fair, I mean, it is somewhat of the nature of the beast of this track, but at a certain point, you have to admit that your car is not drivable and take it in. And Miguel has finally come in for repairs. Something happening with Emerton. Ooh. Emerton in a battle with Jungbluth, it sounds like.
Yes, Johnny Bell, Fabian Jungbluth, Lewis Emerton, and Clayton McLeod all lying abreast right now, all trying to battle for that 4th position in the GTPs. With all this chaos going on, anyone's got a shot at it, and it's all about managing the traffic. And while we've been talking about that, also Justin Albrecht has caught up that 3-second gap up to Fabian Gerber's caught the 3-second gap up to Justin Albrecht, and he's now within a second as well.
Mouths can't keep up. And it was Jungbluth who overtook Emerton to get into the top 5 that we just saw there, chasing down Johnny Bell, 4P4. Oh, and Gerber's now within 0.3 of a second. Wow, they must have been held up by traffic. It was Krajcik and McLeod they just went by, and they don't have GTOs in front of them, but they do have more lap traffic.
Joe Albrecht has front left damage. He must have hit an Audi at some point. He's got some damage, and that's definitely hurting his straight line speed. That's allowing Fabian Gerber to close the gap.
Oh, and that's certainly not going to hit. He runs into him. That was Billy Wise. He has to take to the off track, and now Fabian Gerber, for the first time, is up into the lead. Definite damage, if there wasn't before, on Justin Albrecht.
What an unfortunate race for the leaders of both classes. This is another accident that really, he had nowhere to go. He had nothing to do with it. He just was trying to find his way around, and just Billy Wise coming out wide, and he tries to get out of the way, and that's just something you cannot do as a slower class. You have to drive your line. You cannot try and make it easier for these guys.
I was just going to say, yeah. I usually I don't like to place blame too much, but Billy Wise really shouldn't have been pulling over at that point. And now Jamie Hall is looking like he's going to easily overtake Justin Albrecht, depending on how much straight line speed he has. His Dirty Torque teammate tries to defend down to the inside, ducks his way out to the racing line, and Hall's car is much stronger. He is now up into 2nd place with that move.
Chaos just continuing. Obe Trangarate is taking his car to the pits. He's going to go for repairs. There are not many cars left on track that have no damage out here, Joe. It's just been complete chaos from the first opening, couple of minutes of this race.
Oh, and now Reed Miller is in the pits. Now, I can't quite tell what exactly happened to Reed, because I think he disappears on my track, or on my screen, and then just spears to the outside of the diving turn, which takes him straight to the Armco.
Hardware failure. That's what it looks like to me.
It does look like it. So this hands 3rd place now to Daniel Sadro. Daniel trying to simply run his own race and looking at a podium. He's behind Matthias Havdahl, who we haven't covered much since Olenek has fallen out of favor. Remember, he was trying to take 2nd place away from Matthias. He's got 6 seconds up to Phil Lake, though, and unless traffic brings him back into this, which really, as we've seen, is very feasible, not sure that he's going to be able to run him down on pace.
And we're now looking at Johnny Bell and Fabian Jungbluth, and really, Joe, this series has not seen chaos like this since Bathurst, the beginning of the season. And this is just, it's crazy because they've been able to race very clean through most of the sessions, even through Road America and Monza the week before that. So it's just crazy.
Justin Roeder had a little bit of an off coming out of Big Bend, little wheel spin. Sent him off the course, but didn't hit anything, thankfully. Just got it going once again. Trying to watch the replay of the number 10. Just goosted a little too much.
It's really easy to do in the Nissans, as we've shown before. The wheel spin that you get from just getting that much power going to the rear wheels is really easy to do, so it's not something that is that surprising, really, but it's just something that comes with experience.
All right, now, I don't want to say things have calmed down, but the gaps have increased between most of the cars, so we don't have any battles currently, and that gives us time to put the cameras on Johnny Bell, because I want to give him a little bit of credit. We usually see Johnny Bell fighting for the last of the places, but right now, Johnny is running in 4th out of 13 cars. This is going to be a fantastic result if he can bring it home, but he's got to hold it together for 20 more minutes, especially with Jungbluth, the closest battle on track, and trying to chase him down.
Yeah, and I'll be completely honest with you, Phil. I've been really impressed with Johnny Bell this season. He's been able to make really good inroads on the faster Nissan GTP drivers, and it just shows that his skill is improving. He's learning over the course of these seasons, and he's definitely making inroads towards the middle of the pack this year.
Well, he's playing it safe, which isn't too bad of a strategy considering his position, but compared to the leader, he's about to go a lap down. Gerber just about a straightaway behind him as they come into turn 1 once again.
Clayton McLeod has clobbered his GTP coming over the hill. He's got a lot more damage he's going to have to take to the pits.
It's been a bit of a miserable day for Clayton McLeod.
I stand corrected. He's not taking it to the pits.
Yeah, he feels good enough about staying out on track. And he's running in 9th place. I said earlier that if you have a good enough car and you stay out, you can gain positions.
I don't know, Joe. That car is pretty tattered.
One side of it is, at least. As long as what's the other side look like? I wonder if we'll get the left side of the car looks okay. As long as you're on the outside of the track, it'll look fine. You won't know.
It'll look good for the fans.
Let's also give a little bit of credit to Yin Chin Chung, who is in 4th position in the GTOs. He's a lap down, so he doesn't have the greatest of pace, but again, today doesn't seem to be as much about pace as just about survival. He started a little bit towards the back of the pack, but has kept himself safe, has kept himself clean. This number 22 should get a nice little points haul and an iRating game.
Definitely, it looks like he's enjoying the time around the track for sure. We're going to go look at the battle between Fabian Gerber and Jamie Hall. It's really tightened up, which is a surprise because Gerber usually takes off, really proving to be a really important factor in this.
Yeah, but I think Gerber is a smart driver. I think he knows that it's better for him to be safe and give up time, at least at this point in the race, than to try to risk the car. Thus far, wow, look at him just absolutely weave through everything. Man, he picked his way through beautifully there.
Yeah, that chaos, I mean, it's just, sometimes you don't have any control over it. It's not something you could really manage that well, but Fabian Gerber really proving that he's got some quick reflexes, really navigating his way through there. That was complete chaos ahead of him, and he managed to pull straight through it.
I guess it's just reading the traffic as quickly as you can and as safely as you can. And as we ride on board with Jamie Hall, we lost it to about 1.3 seconds. This could change oh so quickly. Gerber now going around Daniel Sadrow, 3rd place in the GTO. This is Johnny Bell just ahead of JD Hall. He's trying to put a lap on that purple and white Nissan.
I can report that Clayton McLeod has taken his car to the pits. He decided it was too much damage. But man, Jamie Hall really putting on a good fight, keeping Fabian Gerber on his toes. These guys are going to have to navigate this chaos and traffic really efficiently here.
Here's the crazy thing. We only have 6 cars in pit lane. What happened to Yen? Yen has come in. Did he hit something? I'm checking to see.
I don't believe so. His car looks clean.
When we saw Gerber go through all that craziness, there was a little contact from behind. It was Fabian Jungbluth that just barely touched him. But it was so slight that I would not think that Yen would have gotten damage from that. Regardless, he's lost that third place, or excuse me, fourth place.
Jungbluth is right on the back of Johnny Bell right now, and it looks like he's going to try and go for a pass soon. He's really closed up in the last couple of laps.
Don't need to go to it, but Luis Emerton had another spin off of the uphill, hit the wall hard, and had to take a tow. So very quickly, more cars now into pit lane, possibly retiring.
Yes, Billy Wise is also taking pit lane as well. He's got a little bit of damage and trying to get that repaired. So, man, just a lot of attrition this race.
And as we watched Johnny Bell, Matthias Havdahl was in the wrong place at the wrong time for Jungbluth. He was so close to the number 17, but the number 8 had to wait patiently behind the GTO to let him through. Among all of this, our pole sitter, Justin Albrecht, continues to fall away from both Hall and Gerber, about 7.5 seconds because of his damage. But the good news for him is that he's actually about to lap the car that would be the next in line, Johnny Bell. So Justin not under threat from losing this third place for the moment. He just has to drive safely.
Sixth place is about to swap hands in GTP between J.E. Hyde and Dustin Herodier. And it looks like he's going to, because of Hyde's damage, it looks like Herodier has really just quite a bit more speed. And so it should be easy here on the front straight, but we'll see what happens.
Roeder himself might have a little bit of damage with his misadventures this race. And indeed, he doesn't have the top end to try and run him down on the main straight. They go by Daniel Sadro through Big Bend. And he gets right up behind that rear wing once more. 13 minutes left on the clock. Almost looks as though Roeder is much faster here on the back half of the course than down the front stretch.
Yeah, it looks like he might have a little bit more downforce still on his GTP after the incidents he's been involved in. He gets a good time. We'll see whether he can make the pass down the straight. But man, look at that. Hyde still got some speed.
Yeah, that was the lapped car of Ryan Lang that they went by. And as soon as they get into the braking zone, Roeder looks much more confident, regains that ground. This is going to be difficult. He might need to use the traffic as a little bit of a pick to make it by. My timing and scoring is so jumbled up, with drivers trying to get back out on track as Roeder peaks to the inside, both of them side by side over the jump. And I think Dustin's finally got it. A little bit wide coming through West Bend, but it's no drama as Hyde gets demoted down to 7th. Roeder makes his way up into 6th. But I was about to say, I'm looking down at my GTO class and I'm seeing more yellow mixed in there than I see blue.
Yeah, there are 4 cars that have not really... Oh, and we're going to go to the lead now. Look at that. Jamie Hall really close to Fabian Gerber. He's really putting a strong challenge on. This is impressive coming from Hall.
Jamie's got the bit between his teeth. Let's see if he can be the first driver in a while to take the checkered flag over Fabian Gerber in these broadcast races. Again, out of the 6 rounds that we've run, the only 2 that Fabian has not won, he didn't start one of them, and then he DNF'd in the other one.
Hall really looks like he's got a good handle underneath his car. And look at this, the traffic's going to come. Good job getting out of the way there. That was the one time where I would say that not taking your line was the preferred option there. It allowed this battle to continue. Jamie Hall really close up behind Fabian Gerber. He's really giving him a run for his money right now.
And one of the advantages to many of these drivers having taken it to the pits or completely retiring, it's a little bit of an off from Jamie Hall out of Big Bend, is that this has cleared up the track. There's a little bit less traffic now that they're having to work their way through. So they don't hit slower cars nearly as often. And I don't mean that literally, at least hopefully not. Ryan Lang going to be the next one up in front of them, coming through West Bend. This is their own class, though. And once again, trying to pull out of the way. I think Hopefully it doesn't cost them too much, but it certainly allows Jamie Hall to get right underneath Gerber.
I think Hall's going to have to do something drastic if he's going to try and make it by Gerber. Gerber's not just going to let him by. It might have to be a pick. Oh my goodness. And while we've been watching this, Johnny Bell clobbers a GTO coming through the downhill, and he has now got significant damage.
He was trying to fend off Jungbluth for so long, and unfortunately this was Billy Wise. Hard to tell on this one though, because Wise was taking his racing line.
Well, Wise was staying extremely to the inside and going quite slowly, though I don't think he meant to be on the apex there. As we take a look, Wise braking, and he look at that, he goes up on the curve to the right, and so that just really quite confuses Johnny Bell. I don't think it really was, I don't know if it was anyone's fault in that particular case, just Johnny didn't know where to go.
Yeah, Bell is severely damaged. He had another hit on the uphill, clipping the outside wall. He's definitely going to have to come in and take some repairs. As that's been happening, did we see Jamie Hall take the lead?
He must have while we were away.
Oh, and that happened with Gerber having problems with traffic. And once again, it was in the downhill. The track was plugged up because Phil Lake was there with Miguel back out on track. Gerber actually did a fantastic job of saving that situation. It would have been so much worse for him.
Look at it right now. Oh my goodness, it was almost 3 wide there. Gerber just managing to save it and keep it off the tire barriers, but not allows Hall to go by.
Watcher from up top, he basically took the lesser of two evils, which was instead of hitting a car, he went off track. This sets him down to at about 2 seconds back from Jamie Hall, our new leader. Hall has got to be beside himself on this one, but he can't relax. There is so much happening out on track. Those 2 seconds could disappear in the blink of an eye.
All right, so I want to update you on what cars we have left that have not had significant problems with damage. We have 4 cars in the GTOs and 5 cars, 6 cars, I believe, in the GTPs that have not had significant damage. So this is, the attrition is extremely high.
This is a driver we haven't shown a lot recently. As, goes by some cars off track. Phil Lake currently in the lead, and he's got 12 seconds over Hovdahl. So he is sitting pretty. He can just manage to keep the car whole.
And that's not an easy thing right now, as
battle for 4th place as Yen is back out on track. He's chasing down Michael Haynes, another driver we usually don't see all the way up in 4th position. Not sure if he's going to be able to hold on to it. No offense to Michael. He's not usually known for his pace in this car.
yeah, Yenjing Chung really doing a good job here, making his way around the track. You know, for a driver we haven't seen in this series before, I don't believe, he's making a fairly good impression. He hasn't been the cause of any accidents, and he's been making his way through the field. He doesn't have very strong pace right now, but if he is starting in this car, this is a good first showing for him.
Absolutely. Gets closer and closer to the back of the number 19, up and over the hill. I'm starting to think it's going to be a matter of time before he's got to run in the right place and can slip through. As the sun comes out once more from behind the clouds. Down this front stretch, not going to be this time. Although he is gaining. Oh, he's gaining a lot, especially under braking. Oh, and he gets into him. Not expecting Michael Haynes to break that early. He clips the rear. And the 19 gets sent spinning into the Armco.
I'm not sure whether Michael is trying to let him go or whether that's his normal braking point, but man, Yenjing Chung really not expecting that at all. He had to lock up the brakes to try and prevent that from happening, but he was unable to. Michael Haynes just getting sent around there.
Checking in on our battle for the lead. The gap hasn't come down, interestingly. Jamie Hall's doing a great job. Oh, and now he actually just lost about half a second just now. So there must have been some lap traffic that I wasn't looking at that cost him that time.
Yeah, and Hall's about to catch up to Phil Lake as well, who's getting passed by Dustin Herudir. And so it's going to be really interesting. This is when you get the class leaders right next to each other, that's where things can get really difficult. So this is going to be an interesting time to see whether or not Jamie Hall can navigate these faster cars.
Phil Lake's been in this game a while, and he knows how to handle the traffic. So I suspect with his gap back to the car behind, he's not, yeah, as you see, he just lets them through nice and plainly. Did hold up Hall slightly, another half second gone, back to Fabian Gerber. Gerber's starting to run out of time, though. There's only 5 left on the clock, so he's gonna have to start getting right up underneath the rear wing of that dirty torque machine to see if he can do something. He's a little bit too far back for an attack, at least for the moment.
And Rob Olenek being very kind to Gerber, giving him that inside line there. He could have blocked it off for his teammate, but he decides to be the gentleman about it and let Gerber by. That's good racecraft, and since these guys race with each other every week, you want to make sure to keep the friends that you do have. Because as we've seen, this race, you can lose friends pretty fast.
Well, they're dirty torque. They're not dirty tactics. So I think Olenek is in the good there. In fact, credit to Rob for coming back out and trying to salvage this race. He's running in 7th down there, trying to come back through the field.
Yeah, and Rob knows that since Nick McComas is not here today, that this is a good chance to make up some points. And also, he's making up points on Ove Trangerade, who is granted only 9th. But still, any points help, especially when you're in a tight battle with your championship rival.
Okay. I'm sure he's a little upset that he's missing out on maximum points today, considering a win could have been on the cards. This is the driver that's looking at the win, Phil Lake, with now a 15-second gap. The next one down, and indeed he's about to lap Rob Olenek yet another time. There, it's that white, black, and blue car that you can see that he's creeping up upon.
And it looks like Jamie Hall has caught up to the back of some more lap traffic. He's struggling significantly to get past these guys as they go through the no-name straight. He's going to get to the inside of Dustin Herudir, and so that's going to allow him to get by. But let's see where Fabian Gerber goes. Wow, Dustin right in the middle of the track. Fabian has to duck to the inside and go right by. But man, here we go by past Billy Wise. Looks like Jamie makes it by and Fabian makes it by safely. Whew! That is a deep breath for both of them as they make it past some of the most complicated traffic on the course right now.
See how frantic this battle is. Even at 0.8 of a second apart, we can still call it a battle because such split-second timing and decision-making is needed for them to work their way through. Very few laps left as the clock ticks down, and Gerber desperate to try to get back up to the front to claim another victory. If he does, it'll be 5th out of 7 races. Hall is looking to stop that.
Look, as we're on board, just notice something we haven't talked about today. Look how rough the track surface is for these GTPs. It is just very difficult to try and drive around here. It's one of these things where it's just extremely bumpy, especially as we go through this SS portion of the track in the first sector here. Look at how bumpy this track is. It's just extremely difficult, and that can really introduce turbo lag if you're not careful.
That's true, and Jamie Hall certainly has his own incentive to take this win. Not yet taken a victory this season, has the number 9, and he's shown up very few times, surprisingly, and bad luck has plagued him the times that he has come around. He's pushing every inch of this track where he's got clear racetrack to keep the charging Fabian Gerber behind him. Now ducking down low to try and break the slipstream, not wanting to give an opportunity to the number 1 car to run him down.
This should be about 3 laps to go, Joe, so this is going to be a really tense time for Jamie Hall.
Apologies to our fans of the GTO field. We got to stay with this because there's simply no battles down there. This is the closest fight. We've seen it come down to a battle on the last lap with the lead trading hands twice one time here at Lime Rock Park in the Camel Series.
Jamie Hall's going to catch Olenek at a bad time. Really bad time. That's going to allow Fabian Gerber to make the pass. There we go on the front stretch. Unbelievable move.
3 wide, and he ducked it down to the inside, trusted it that there was going to be an opening, and he gets the lead. But this is not over. 2 laps left to go. Phil Lake, our leader in the GTOs, is up ahead of them. They're catching him actually at a very bad place. Gerber's going to manage to get down to the inside, but this gives a run to Jamie Hall. He's now going to try and stick his nose in, down into the uphill. Is he going to manage to make it too wide? Not quite. And in fact, that loses him a lot of time.
It looked like Phil Lake parked his car right on the inside of that corner he was entitled to. That's his line. Well, look at this. Fabian Gerber going to catch Billy Wise at a bad time. Billy Wise pulls off to the right side and just misses Fabian Gerber. Looks like Fabian Gerber has a good chance at this. What are we closing in on? White flag this time?
Yes, this is the white flag lap. 30 seconds left to go on the clock. Jamie Hall had a little bit of an off coming out of West Bend, and that cost him yet more time, but he continues to try to close back down on Fabian Gerber. They have a car way up ahead, and it is Michael Haynes. I'm not sure if they'll catch him in time. This could yet still affect this race. Gerber, just 2 more corners to go. 1 down with West Bend. Now swinging it through the diving turn, and I think he is home free. Fabian Gerber manages to get back to the front and take the victory here at Lime Rock Park.
What a move.
Phil Lake coming behind them is going to come through the diving turn himself with a little bit of a celebration drift. The number 2 car wins here at LRP.
Yeah, Jamie Hall just caught his teammate Olenek at the wrong time coming through the downhill there, and that made the difference between a win and second place.
Albrecht managed to get 3rd. Let's look at that pass one more time for the lead, now that we got time for a replay.
Just such commitment from Fabian Gerber to take that outside line. He knew that that was his only opportunity. What a move.
I think he wasn't going to lift off of that right foot until the engine expired. He was committed to making that pass work come hell or high water, and that gave him the victory in the end. So with that, we have now reached the checkered flag in this chaotic race here at Lime Rock Park. So we're going to take a breath, and on screen you can see all the upcoming races here on the Global Sim Racing channel. But after that, stick around because we'll have the official results as well as driver interviews. Welcome back to Lime Rock Park. This was round 7 in the iRacing Kamel GT series, and Fabian Gerber did take the win, and it was from third on the grid. That really doesn't tell the whole story, as he got up to the front early and then all of a sudden found himself having to deal with Jamie Hall, who battled him almost the entire way to that victory. Hall did get second place, and it was Justin Albrecht who was probably most disappointed, who has been facing off with Gerber for the championship and unfortunately loses more points here today. He takes third place after damage cost him pace. Fabian Jungbluth finished a lap down, but he was still fourth place. Dustin Heroder managed to get fifth, 2 laps down. And then you've got J.E. Hyde, who was certainly in the midst of a lot of chaos out there. He finished 6th place from 11th, so that was a good climb regardless. Ryan Lang comes home 7th, the last of the, I believe the last of the GTPs who managed to finish. We don't see him on screen, but just you'll see it later. Johnny Bell, Craytree, Keefe, Emerton, McLeod, and Calatayud did not finish the race. Adam?
And now we've got Philip Lake coming home with the victory in the GTO class. Matthias Hovdahl in second place, unable to mount a challenge after some chaos ensued. Daniel Sadro coming home in a good third place for him, up of second on the grid. Then we have Yenching Chung, a newcomer to the series, coming home in fourth place with a consistent drive, along with Michael Haynes coming home in fifth place, probably his best finish of the season. Billy Wise is going to come home in sixth, and then the DNFs begin with Rob Olenek, and then we have Reed Miller and Ove Trangerade as the final DNFs for the GTO class.
We have our winner in the prototypes ready to talk to us, and I can't wait to hear, Fabian, about the move that managed to get you the win towards the end of the race. You saw that Jamie Hall was getting held up. Was there any chance in hell that lifting your foot off the throttle at that moment?
Certainly, I didn't want to, of course. I tried to go through flat out, and I just hope that I find some space to get through. And then I looked to go through in the middle. There was no space, so I swept over to the right, and there was some space, so I could take it. But it was just luck. I feel sad for Jamie. Actually, he would have deserved this one, but I lost the lead as well before. So in this race, it was a question of luck if you win or not in this case.
Yeah, this track certainly threw up a lot of variables, and at this track, were you mostly concerned about finishing ahead of Justin, since he's your main rival in the championship points, or were you just victory and nothing else?
I don't know. It's Justin was the fastest guy, I think, in this race, and he also had bad luck when overtaking lapping Audi. I didn't have bad luck with Audis. I had more bad luck with Nissans, and I was just waiting it out, see what happens, try to stay as close as possible, and then see if I can get a chance sometime in the race. I didn't really think about that.
A lot of drivers in the Discord chat for this league, as well as in the forums, are having some intense discussion about the schedules. And some have been saying that Lime Rock Park is a must on the schedule. What are your feelings, though? Would you like to see this every season, or are you not a fan?
Before I knew the track, since I'm from Europe, it wasn't a track I really knew before, and I didn't like it at all in the Lotus, but in this car I sort of liked it, but I'm not sure why. It's probably also because it's historic. They actually ran here with the Kamel GT, so it belongs to this series as well. So I think we should run it. Yes.
That is actually a very interesting perspective on this, and glad to hear that the history of these cars comes into play. That was Fabian Gerber. Congratulations on the victory today.
Thank you very much, guys. See you next week.
Next, I believe that Adam is going to be talking to our winner in the GTOs, Phil, in and around the lake.
Yeah, Phil, a much different turn in fortunes for you this week, coming home with the win in the GTO class. How'd you do it?
Quite a big helping of luck, I think. Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed actually that I didn't get to fight with Rob. I was kind of hoping I'd have pretty similar pace to him, and it seemed like we did in the first few laps. But then once he got involved in the incident, it was just managing risk for the rest of it. So trying to maintain decent lap time, but also one eye on the mirror the whole time. So
Yeah.
it's quite a tough race in that respect. You've got to kind of keep an eye on everything.
Yeah, definitely. So, how crazy was the traffic, both passing cars and getting past? Like, we saw a lot of cars taking off track to try and avoid cars coming up behind them. How did you manage the traffic today?
I didn't have too many issues myself, but yeah, I did notice some of the lapped Audis were getting way off the track when they saw multiple cars behind them, which is it's good of them to do that. Mostly the traffic is just weighing up how much time you're going to lose and how big the risk is if you go for it. And so a lot of the time, you just, when you have a bit of a comfortable gap, you just wait and have a few slow laps here and there.
So, with your fortunes this week in the GTO, will we see in that car more often this season?
I think so. Yeah, I think I was planning to make the switch back over at the end of the season, but with the way the season started for me in the Nissan, I might be making the switch a little sooner.
Well, we look forward to seeing you next week, and congratulations on the win today, Phil.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, guys.
That was Phil Lake, the winner in the GTOs, and it looks like we have Daniel Sadro with Joe Peak, the third place in the GTOs today.
Absolutely. And Daniel's one of the few drivers, I think, that was basically all on his own in terms of position for much of this race. But you weren't without your share of scares out there. I saw at least one point, Daniel, where you had a little contact and was sent off track. What are your thoughts on what it was like from the driver's perspective?
Yeah, guys, it was intense. This is the first Camel race I've ever done, so I was just wanted to not make a nuisance of myself. Whether I was fast or not, it was kind of less of a concern. I just had, I think it was a miscommunication with the 20 Nissan in the second part of the first corner. But other than that, I was just trying to make sure that I was driving as cleanly as I could and learning everything I could about this specific type of multi-class racing.
Well, I don't know if you plan to stick around, but you certainly have jumped in at the deep end here with Lime Rock Park. And if you do stay, next week is Detroit. Is that enough to scare you away, or are you going to keep trying it in these GTO cars?
Well, I think it's worth a shot. It's tons of fun, and I'm up for a challenge. So if I can get a few laps of practice, I'll absolutely be out there.
Right, I like that. We're willing to just put it all on the line. A third place, though, is not an easy feat, especially in these difficult to drive cars. What's your realistic expectations moving forward? Keep trying for the podiums, or what are you thinking?
Well, I don't usually think about a position that I'm looking for. I think I was 34 or 35 seconds off of the class winner, and that's kind of what I'm looking for to be within half a minute, and then eventually get down to 25 seconds, and keep just getting better and better and faster is my goal.
Well, that sounds like a good goal. Again, congratulations on the podium. Hopefully, we'll see you in Michigan.
Yep, thanks, guys.
That was third place, Daniel Sadro, in the last of our interviews here today for the Camel broadcast of Round 7. A big thank you to the Camel community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. We love calling these races. They are just wild to watch. And also, thank you to iRacing for putting us on IESN this season. Make sure and subscribe to them. Go to their YouTube page, click the big red button that says subscribe to get all of the Kamel GT series in your YouTube feed. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. They're listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go out to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. As we mentioned, we're going to Belle Isle to Detroit for the next round. That'll be Saturday, August 3rd at 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.